Hello everyone. I'm going to show you how to make a Google form now, and a Google form gets used a lot in our school just to basically collect information. The one thing I just wanted to clarify is the difference between a Google form and a Google Doc. A Google Doc is just essentially like a Word document, and sometimes we make use of its sort of information gathering capabilities because we share it with everyone. But a Google Doc is really very open to layout. It can be changed, whereas something like a Google Form is much more rigid in terms of the layout it demands from you. And so just to clarify the difference between a Google Doc, which is like a Word document, and then a Google Form, which I'm going to show you now, which is basically a set of questions, and it really forces you to use a particular structure. Different situations demand different tools. I mean, they're both good at gathering information, but we do find when you want specific structure, a Google Form is a better bet. Okay, so how do you find a Google form? Now, you could just type in here at the top in the browser, like I did previously for the document, www.google.drive. But if you've signed into your browser already, if you've signed into Chrome, and I'll show this in a later video, you can see I've signed in because my name is already coming up on the tab. Then actually there's a shortcut you can use, which is on the left hand side if you go Apps. And if you've loaded the Google Drive app extension, then I just click that, Google Drive. Now again, if this is not something you've seen before, it's totally fine. Just click on the top URL here and type in Google Drive and you will get to a similar position. It may ask you to sign into your Google account, which is totally fine, and then after signing in you'll get to this layout. So how do you create your Google form? So you hit the red New button and you'll see instead of creating a Google Doc, and instead of, you'll see it's actually not there at the moment. So what you do is you click More, and if you click on More, you'll given options, and there's your Google form. So you click your Google form, and at first it comes up. A good first step is always to give your form a title. So you go to the top, you click on it, and you can say test form, whatever you want to call it, and you go OK. Now there's quite a lot of information on sort of the layout screen, and I'm not going to try and do everything at once. We're just going to do the basics. So along the top here, let's actually just go to making the questions. So over here you've got your question title, and it's good to always start with just the name of the person who's filling in the form. Now you'll see I'm asked for the person's name, but the question type is multiple choice, which makes no sense. You would want a text question, so you click on the arrow, and then you click text, and then you make it a required question to basically the person can't submit unless they give the name. So you're forcing them to answer this question if you click required question. If you don't want to force them, just don't click that button, and then we'll go done. So that's name. Now, if you want a similar type of question, in this case another text question, you could go click this button here and add another text question, which is actually what I'm going to do this time. So the next thing I want is surname, and I can see that it basically, I'm going to make this a required question as well, so it forces them to submit. I go done. So now I've got a name and a surname as the first two questions on my form. Now there is another shortcut we can use on the right hand side here. If I want to go back into this question, I just press edit, and I can format the question to change the text. If I'm happy again, I just click done. And if I want to duplicate this question, I just hit this button, so duplicate, and then after duplicating I am done. Now I've duplicated this, and sometimes it can be useful to just go in and edit it and change it if you try to do things quickly, but maybe I want to delete this question now. All I do is hit the sort of trash button there, and it's gone. Okay, so what are the last two things we had to do? So we had to add a name, surname, and we're going to add an item for email. Now email will also be a text question, so I'm going to go email, required question, and done. And then the last one on the skill was to add a multiple choice question. So we'll go add an item. This time we choose multiple choice, and we'll say what is the day today. And so now we actually have to give options, so we can go Monday, I hit enter there, it just jumps, Tuesday, Wednesday, it didn't jump there, Thursday. You get the basic idea. And then we can go done. So now we have our form with 4 questions. If you wanted to number them, you could just go back into the actual question, hit the edit button, and you can always put a little 1 there, put a semicolon if you like, or just a space, 1. You're free to change that as you like, and you've got your basic form. Now just 2 last things here, well sort of 3 maybe. If you want to change the layout of this thing, the background, there's a theme block here where you can go change theme, and you can change the sort of layout of your form. So you might have seen these types of things before, and so you get a sense of what the viewer will get when they look at your form. And then if you want to view the live form on the web, then you would just click this button here, and you'll see another tab opens up. And so if you now took this address and you shared it with people, this would be the address that would point them to the form to fill it in. And I'll cover that in a later video. I'm going to go back to this tab over here. If I wanted to view the responses to this, now obviously the responses are going to come in a spreadsheet. So the moment you hit view responses, it's going to open up a spreadsheet which will have the responses recorded. Now there are no responses yet in this thing, but if I go here and I just type in some stuff, then we should be able to create a response. Okay. It won't actually let me submit now, but if I go to the live form on the internet, I can fill in a little response there, and I'll choose Tuesday, and I'll hit submit. And once I hit submit, it says thank you for submitting a response. If I go to my responses tab now, you'll see that that comes through. Alright, so that's the basics of how to create a Google form. This is the actual, what I call the builder mode. And just to make sure, if I close everything now, the wonderful thing about Drive is it saves everything by default. If I close everything, everything is still saved. If I now go to my Drive, which is back here, you will see over here that there's a test form PS1 and there's a test form PS1 responses. If I click on that, this is basically the thing that I was working on. And if I go to the responses tab, that can also open up. And so I can go back in and look at who else has answered my survey, and if I want to edit further things in my Google form, I can do that too. And so just to point out, often once you've built your form, you need to share the address of your form. You would find that by going to View Live Form, and then if you just take that address at the top, you just go Control-C or right-click and copy, you can send anybody else. I'll just illustrate this by going to a new browser. If I go Control-V or paste, if I click enter, that will point me directly to the form that I've just set up, and I can fill in the form and the data will be gathered in the spreadsheet.